All right, on Kansas and Missouri, Drake. Is the wrong team favored in this game? Like, I hate to do this because, yeah, I know it's the SEC and everything else, but man, I really like Jalen Daniels here. You want to talk me off that ledge or get me a little bit closer to it?
I don't want to talk you off the ledge. Jalen Daniels is back. 7 touchdowns, 1 interception this season, 85 QBR, 16th in the country. He has been electric. Now, let me do this. The wrong team is not favored. Missouri should be favored at home. The SEC juggernaut we all love, Eli Drinkwitz. Come on. Jalen Daniels has played college football since 2020. Make fun of it all you want. He's in season 6. Make fun of it all you want, but it's not going to change the fact he's still the quarterback, passing at an 80% clip. And what you'll say then from there is, well, he played Wagner in Fresno State. He was actually better against Fresno State than he was Wagner. We know Fresno State is a much better football team than Wagner. Transitive property doesn't always work in college football. Missouri fans keep up. Doesn't always work in college football. But Fresno State just had a double-digit win against Georgia Southern, and Georgia Southern may be one of the more competitive teams that we see out of the group of 5 this season. Fresno State winning that game makes it even more impressive that Kansas beat the Bulldogs 31-7, and Daniels in that game 18 for 20, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, had 4 touchdowns against Wagner last week, had 8 carries, 47 yards as well, 23 yards, his longest rush the night against Fresno State. He's going to be a catalyst, an X factor. I think Beau Pribula of Missouri can be good. And Missouri looked good against the University of Central Arkansas, but I'll say it again, UCA could play William and Mary and William not show up and still lose. Like, this is a very bad football team that Missouri just took on. I can't, no two ways to beat around that bush. And not to say Wagner's great. Again, this isn't a Wagner team that I believe is going to win a national championship at the FCS level. But Kansas proved to me in week 1 against Wagner that their floor is pretty high. They're not a sucky team. Kansas State has proven their floor is low. If you play close in an FCS game or you lose an FCS game, that shows me your floor is at the very bottom. If you blow them out, we've now learned, okay, you don't completely suck. That's what I learned in week 1. In week 0, and since Fresno State has that win against Georgia Southern, we actually learned against FBS opponents, Kansas can be legit. Their defense is legit. They've allowed 7 points per game in their first 2. I think they've got a much larger edge than most people expect, and I think Kansas is going to win this game.
So you mentioned that 7 points in both games. You would think that Missouri scores more than 7 in this thing. If they don't, easy Kansas win, which I don't think it will be. I think this will be tough. I certainly think that both teams, I think we're in for a classic. In a week 1 where we had a billion great games, there are fewer this week, but this is one of them that people should absolutely tune into. The border war, right? So thoughts though on the defense. Pribula looked good. And again, I know it's one game. I know they had a lot of questions about who the quarterback would be. Did they get the right guy? This, that, and the other in Missouri. He did look good. And, I'm not breaking any news here by saying that quarterback play is going to determine an outcome of a game. Like, duh. But it really does come down to me. Can Kansas's defense do enough to slow him down, or can Missouri's defense do enough to slow Daniels down? And that's a big question that I have in this, is how much can they limit Beau?
Yeah, I mean, this is the same Beau Pribula who did win the job at Penn State and comes out of there as the second fiddle. I mean, Missouri just picked up a backup quarterback to be their starter for their organization because Drew Adler is still with the Nittany Lions. I don't know if that's sexy enough to jump off the page and me say, wow, he's going to be the guy. Because if you look at what he did at Penn State, he was very good against bad teams. He was very good in bad moments. When they needed somebody to come into a game because it was a blowout, Beau was the guy. And for Missouri, he got to come into the game and play in a blowout because it was just already going to be a blowout against UCA. In Columbia, 23 for 28 last week. He was good. I don't have a lot to knock what he did in that game. A passer rating of 190, also solid. And 10 carries for 65 yards, a couple of touchdowns. His ability to run the football is going to be key for Missouri this season. And that's why I think Missouri is still an 8 or 9 win team this year. Where I do believe he will be stifled, DJ Withers has emerged as one of the better defensive tackles in the country for Kansas. 6'4", 300-pound kid, a senior out of Little Rock. He has been a dog. Trey Lathan, the linebacker for Kansas, has been, again, a dog. 12 tackles his first 2 games. A Florida product, a junior who could be great next season if he doesn't go to the NFL. That's where I believe the continuity of a Kansas defense can make them so deadly in a game like this on the road. And let's be honest with ourselves. I grew up in SEC country. I grew up going to football games from Tuscaloosa to Baton Rouge to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and College Station, Texas. And Columbia, Missouri has one of the worst atmospheres in the entire SEC. Like this is not a scary place to go play. I don't think Kansas is going to walk in through these doors, especially after the last year playing in Arrowhead, and go, wow, what a palace of a college football stadium. It's just not a great place for college football. It's just not a good facility. And that's where things will bode well for the Jayhawks. It reminds me a little bit of that Kansas State game when Kansas State came in, played Missouri, and lost on that 60-yard field goal, whatever it was. But I think this is where the result flips, and you see Kansas win it 30-27, 27-24. The Jayhawks get the best because their defense is so much improved. I still have plenty of question marks about even Ahmad Hardy running the football for Missouri is a guy who comes in out of the transfer portal. They have question marks at some of their best positions because of the lack of continuity. Kansas doesn't have that issue. They know how to play together. Like if you go on ESPN right now, you read the stats of all the players for both teams. On the Kansas side, every headshot is a kid in a Jayhawks jersey because he's been there for a few years. He knows the system. He knows Lance Leipold, and they don't have Jeff Grimes holding them down. And then on the other side, the Missouri Tigers, it's like, oh, well, that's a dude's headshot from Penn State. That's from Louisiana Monroe. That's from West Virginia. It's just different. They don't have the same nucleus that the Kansas Jayhawks bring into this game, and I think that's what sets it apart.
Biggest question I have for this, we kind of saw this and I don't think these are exactly comparable because I think Auburn has a really, really good offensive line. But the trench play between Auburn and Baylor, to me, was the difference in that game. It's what let Auburn continuously just move the ball very effectively. Do you worry about that at all in this game? Just Kansas' O-line, D-line against, I know Missouri's not in our upper tier of the SEC, but kind of a mid-tier SEC team. Do you kind of worry about the trenches at all?
Not with Missouri. I mean, I do with LSU and Alabama and the schools that have, the Oregon.
Yeah, Alabama a little bit less at this point, but go ahead.
That have the millions of dollars to throw around. Missouri's not blessed with that. Kansas isn't either. This is still what we love about college football. These are two teams that aren't built by $50 million rosters. But like Josiah Trotter, I thought he looked really good at linebacker for Missouri. He's a sophomore, 6'2", 237. That's a pretty good-sized linebacker, but it's not something that's going to blow Kansas away. And by the way, he transferred from West Virginia. Kansas has already seen them. Damon Wilson, I should say. He's a defensive end who's 6'4", 250. Like I'm looking for, I'm thinking SEC, and we learned this a little bit. You mentioned with Auburn, we learned it with Alabama. We learned it, we're learning which of these schools actually have the big, bad offensive and defensive lines. I'm not looking at your best DN being 250 pounds. I want to see 280. That's where I'm like, that's an SEC kid that can run a 4.6 at 280. He's going to be a monster. Missouri doesn't have that. Now, Kansas doesn't either. I think it's a very evenly played game in the trenches. The difference overall, and I already mentioned continuity, having guys that have been in your program, but even Emmanuel Henderson Jr., if you want to mention, well, what about the transfers? Does anybody get Alabama kid playing wide receiver for Kansas that leads the team right now and is one of the fastest players in college football? Dylan Highshaw, he's not a transfer. He's a senior that's grown up there, 5'10", but 220 pounds at running back. When that comes running toward you, that is a freight train. I don't believe Jaylen Daniels, 6 foot, 220 pounds. This is a meaty, large Kansas team. I don't believe that I mentioned Withers earlier, 6'4", 300. I don't believe the size difference is going to make as large of an impact as folks think it will when you say SEC versus Big 12. Yeah, Auburn beat Baylor and Auburn whipped them around, but I said this on my show this week. If you're the SEC and you're waving the flag like, look at us, we're so good because Auburn's back. Like if Auburn's one of the best teams in the SEC, I don't think it's something that you should be bragging about right now. I'm not sure if that is a great sign for the conference. So I'm not worried about the size differential.
What was your score one more time on this one?
Yeah, I'm going to go with I do think Kansas can take this game into the upper 20s, maybe 30 points. Let me even it out a bit and go 27-24. It's a field goal difference for Kansas. They're going to win it by 3.
I did a show earlier this week, and I am 75% sure that was the score that I gave. So I'm sticking with 27. Yeah, same.
You
same
flip
thing.
It though? You go Mizzou?
No, both. So I do a show live on Wednesdays called The Power 2. Monday and Wednesday now. The Power 2, obviously an ode to the Big Ten and the SEC because they are those guys. And I try to go the opposite way on a lot of stuff. Like I picked Miami, I picked Kansas in this one, I picked Baylor. But anyway, yeah, I took Kansas, and I think that was my score. So if it wasn't, I'm changing my score to that now. But I definitely was the only one to pick Kansas. So
good.
Let's get the Jayhawks.
I like it. Go Jayhawks.